Um,
Okay.
yeah, too right you have. It's 8 o'clock at fucking night on a Saturday night. I've stayed in for you, motherfucker.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I wouldn't disappoint you though. Trust me.
Oh yeah, no, I ultimate professional, I'm sure. So look, welcome. I'll give you a brief rundown of the podcast. I sing in a UK thrash band called Acid Rain. So
Oh, you mean like the act like the acid rain from back in the 80s?
yeah, the
Nice. Oh my God.
yeah.
Wow. That man, those first two records, man, I listened to those like you would not believe.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
wow. Oh, that's
huge. Yeah, when
amazing.
we before Morta Skuld even started, I was in like a kind of a crossover band, and we were listening to Acid Rain, DRI, MOD, SOD. So yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Oh, that's really cool. Oh well, hello. So I'm Howard. I sing, or H, as you may know me. And I've been doing this podcast for 10 years. I've also been a stand-up comedian for 25 years.
Wow, that's pretty
Um,
impressive, man.
oh, thank you. I kind of ducked out of music in the early 90s. And the band came back in 2015. We've been back, well, since then, put a new album out in 2019. Um, so
Nice, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, no, it's been great. But I am the only original member, and so a familiar feeling for you, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's. I mean, first of all, okay, absolute complete transparency here. Didn't know the band at all. And the guys at Peace Film, the your press agent, sent me
Sarah.
sent me the link, and I was like, okay, cool, check this out. Um, and I'm not a death metal guy, right?
Okay, fair
Um,
enough.
love it. I mean, there's way more. I'm just like I'm genuinely surprised. There's way more going on with with your stuff than a standard death metal band. I mean, I was hearing bits of prog, bits of thrash, bits of metal. There's no you're not it's not fucking blast beats all the time. You're not
No.
always carving people up or doing an autopsy or someone getting a head blown off. I mean, it's like dare I say, it's just a really good fucking very heavy metal album.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I really think that the thing with this record too is I've been hearing that from a lot. A lot of people are hearing the different influences.
Yeah.
And I mean, I grew up in the '60s, so I mean, a lot of my influences are really early
No,
rock.
you did not
Yeah,
grow up in the 60s. You are
yeah,
not that old.
66, 57.
What, really?
Yeah,
Wow. I am shocked. I thought I was older than you.
not many are.
So like well, also the other thing, aside from the eclectic mix of influences, I am loving the production. It's just old school enough to be but it's still like modern day. So you've got
Yeah,
the nice big fat sounds and everything. Occasionally you've got that old sort of 90s. Oh, the bass is slightly loud there. And but you've got that kind of, it's a very unprocessed feel.
yes, absolutely. Well, I think it comes down to we've been working with Chris now, our studio guy, Chris DeJuric, Suffer for Nothing, our last record. We worked on that with him, and then we worked on this one. And I think what it is, just every time we go in, it's the same thing. It's like it's never the same. It's not like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do this. It always changes with him. And I think he's always looking to keep it fresh. And I think with this material, I just for some reason it just the stars aligned. It was like,
Yeah.
we just happened to pick the right guitar cabinet with the right amp. I mean, it's my amp, but we just picked the right guitar cabinet. Everything just kind of just really fell into place, and we kind of took our time with it too. Like, we weren't rushed to do anything. We didn't really have anything pre-planned. It was just, we just wanted to go in there, and I think the players too, just us as players, all of us being seasoned musicians, I think kind of came into play with that as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of how it sounds. it does sound like a group of people who've worked on an album. It doesn't sound like, like one guy threw some songs together in one place and someone else did, and then like, you came together in the studio and just kind of pieced it together. It sounds kind of organic.
Yes, I use that word a lot because I feel like that's the way we write too. We write as a band. We throw ideas across each other, and some may hit, some may not hit. It just depends on the vibe. And I
Yeah.
think that we got a really good vibe between the four of us. There's just a lot of give and take, and there's a lot of back and forth, and I think that came out on the record.
Yeah, I was speaking to Kyle Thomas last night from Exorder,
Oh,
and we were having the same discussion. Um, they've got an album just coming out, and he was saying the same thing, which is it's like communication's the key. You've got to knock it backwards and forwards, and if somebody doesn't like a piece, and I'm the same with this. If someone doesn't like a part of the song, that's great, but you can't just not like it. You've got to explain what it is that's not working
right.
for you and offer something. Where do you see it going? Because if it's not this, it must be something else. You can't just bring nothing to the table. You can't just bring don't like it.
Right, right, exactly. No, and I think that everybody with this record, everybody kind of put in their 2 cents where they wanted it to be. As far as like, well, I like this, I don't like that. But then it's like you said too. Well, if you don't like this, what is let's bring something else to the table, or do you have an idea to replace this if you don't like this? And there were a couple songs we did write. We had like 5 or 6 other songs that we wrote before that were going to be on the record, and we were just like, you know what? And I think 2 of them were my songs. Like I wrote the whole song, and I was like, I don't like the vibe. We did keep one older song, which is we Into Temptation. That was an older song, so that's from about 3 years ago. Otherwise, the rest of the material isn't even like a year old. Like we really started working hard on this 3 years ago, but it just I don't know what happened. Just the stars kind of aligned differently. And really, what happened was Scott came to a practice on a day we weren't supposed to practice, and they were like, "Hey, can you make it?" And I was like, "No, I got family stuff going on." So they started what was to become the Painful Conflict track, and they started that song, and that just kind of spurred off the writing sessions. And we always write as a band, but instead of this time, what we did instead of going over the material, like okay, we're coming in, we got 2 songs written from last week, we're going to play those songs, and then we're going to start writing. We didn't do that. We wrote the song, we put it on the back burner, and then we started writing a new song. So I feel like the sessions were fresh and organic every time. And instead
Right.
of you
Yeah.
like being tired, or you're like, oh yeah, I just played 2 songs, man, I'm tired or whatever. We were just fresh. We weren't exhausted, we weren't tired. And I
Yeah.
I really think that helped the songwriting process.
Yeah, well, it helps you not overthink as well, doesn't it? There's nothing worse than getting halfway through a song and going, "Well, where's this going? And where did it start? And I don't know what's going on anymore." It's like it's just riff soup,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah,
no
no, and that's
direction.
that's exactly what happened. I mean, there were I'd probably say probably 50% of the riffs that I wrote on this record were by mistake. I was just goofing around while we're warming up, and then somebody's like, "Hey, I really like that. Let's use that." And like you
Yeah,
said, don't think about it too much. Let it come out and just play what you feel.
yeah. We're in the midst of writing a new album at the moment,
Nice.
and it's exactly that. It's basically just right, just right, and however whatever we feel, whatever we think is next, do that. And funnily enough, I was sat there while the guitarist was just trying to work out like oh I kind of want to lead over this bit, or just something, just a flourish over the top of it, just to bring something. And he was working on it, and I was sat there, and I just kind of went, well, look, do you know what? I can clearly hear um some vocals I want to put over that section. And he was literally like put the guitar straight down. I was like, cool, do that. It's just
Right,
like, great.
right.
I'm fucking can't get this. And it's
Yeah,
like,
your
okay,
your
I'll do
guys'
that.
first record was just a huge influence on a lot of us when we were growing up, man. So I mean,
Oh, it's
it's
amazing.
it's so ironic that you're in the band because like I literally was like I mean, we were just we were, all huge fans.
It's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. It really is.
Okay, small world.
Yeah, well, it's the metal world, isn't it? You know,
Yes, yes,
it's
it is.
it is the very small metal world. Um, but yeah, it is that having that that kind of license for everybody to just throw in, what they think, or but also what I think is very important is, and again, I was talking about Kyle last night. It's the movie phrase is "kill your darlings." I don't know what the music phrase is for that. Maybe it's the same, but it is. It's like, this is my favorite part of the song. Really,
Yeah,
it's kind of doesn't work. Okay, it's got to go.
yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I think there's always a give and take. There's always a compromise, and that's the one thing I think about being a musician, like yourself, or being in the bands that we are in. Is sometimes it's a give and take. Sometimes it's like, because I remember way back in the day when we were first starting out, we would get in these like knockdown, drag out arguments or fights about a riff, and it's like,
Yeah.
and I don't miss those days. And now it's just like now it's more of a discussion. It's like, okay, well, what do you think about it? What do you
Yeah.
think about it? And
Yeah.
I just think in the end of the day, you really have to come together as a band, and you just really have to serve the song, is how I like to coin the phrase.
Oh, mate, this is the conversation Kyle had. He used the exact same phrase, "serve the
Wow.
song," and I'm exactly the same. And do you know what? I can't put these interviews out back to back. Everybody going, "Is this the same interview?" But that's a good thing, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I always say the most important person in the room is the song. It's not
Yeah.
you. It's not me.
Nope.
It's not any of us. The song is the one most important thing. So everything go like, it's like, women and children. No, they're not first. Song first. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
If the building's going to get hit by a missile, we've got to let the song out the room first. Um, but it's the only way. It's the only way to be is focusing on what is best for the song, because the minute you start trying to appease people's egos, you're lost.
Yeah. Well, and I think fighting a song too. I've been guilty of that too, where I'm just fighting the song, and I just, you're wrestling with it, and you're just like, obviously this isn't working. Stop overthinking it. Let it come. If it doesn't come, put it down, move on, come back to it. It just, I've just done that too many times, where I'm just like you said, or I'm trying to appease the listener.
Yeah,
And I was guilty off our last record. I was guilty of that. I wanted to write what people wanted to hear. And on this record, I was like, no, man, I want to write what I like. And a lot of it was, I'd be in the car and I'd be listening to one of my favorite bands. I'd be like, huh, I really like that. I'm like, I think I want to start a song like that,
yeah,
but I made it my own. And then, you just kind of move forward, and you have to let the song breathe too.
yeah,
I've known, I mean, I've like you, I've listened to a lot of music over my lifetime, and some songs you just feel they're just real linear. They don't breathe. You really have to find, like I said, that give and take, the push and shove, you know, this is the song. I'm here
yeah.
to serve the song. And once that's done and it's born, then you're like, this is the creation that we just went through this process to create this, and you love the song, you accept it, and then you move on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm listening to a demo of a song we're working on at the moment, and I must have listened to it over 20 times. And yesterday, I was listening to a section and went, "Oh, yeah. Why are we not doing that at that point?" But like, how am I only hearing that now? That section is way too short. It should be twice that, and it needs to
Yes.
go there, not there. And
Yeah.
it's fucking obvious. But why is it
Yeah.
taking me 20 listens?
Well,
It's
you never know, man. Sometimes it's just one of those things where, I think we get, you listen to it and you're like, maybe your ears just didn't pick up on it until that 20th listen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of listening to stuff in the car as well.
Oh yeah.
When you're not completely listening to it,
Right.
because otherwise you're in a fucking wall.
Yeah.
So you're not completely listening to it. and you hear it in, I swear you hear it in a different way. Your brain, like you were just saying, look, we've listened to a lot of music over the years. I always describe it as like, I get a new album by somebody and it's like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Play it 3 times. Don't really need to play that ever again. Now it's in there.
Right.
I can lie down, shut my eyes and listen to it. I don't have to play it. It's in
Right.
there because
Right. And if a song's that good, it's going to stick with you. It's
well,
going to
over
stick.
the
It's going to be in your memory.
yeah, and over the years, we've got used to listening to music as, work, as a job. You're listening to it to pick it apart. What can I learn from it? You're listening to music to how
Very
am I going to
true.
put lyrics over this? What am I going to do with the vocals? What? And so you're listening so intently, you learn how to digest music a lot quicker and a lot more in depth than somebody who maybe isn't in a band. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of like almost to your detriment. That's what I mean. It's like when you're driving along, you're not listening that hard,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
it's
So
kind of like,
you have these other senses that are picking up on this stuff that you might not have listened or might
yeah,
not have heard if you were
yeah,
listening too
yeah,
hard.
yeah, because you're almost over listening to it. You're over focusing.
Yeah.
Where should
There
this
you
go?
go.
Where should that go? Oh, come on, reveal the
Right.
mystery to me, song. Yeah,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I'm the same. I'm the same way too. I'm like, I like this part. Let's let it breathe. Because I feel like on our last record, I feel like we, it's like, okay, well, 4 measures here, four here. Yeah. No, no, no. Let's do 8. Let's do 12. It's like, who cares? You want to try to create that feeling so that people are like, wow, like when you hear people say, I felt that song versus hearing the song, two complete different things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also I think look, intensity is great. We're talking about like thrash and death metal here, so obviously intensity plays a big role. But
Oh yeah,
so does drawing people in and keeping them and putting and messing with them and tempo changes and transitions and drawing people in and keeping people in. You don't have to be constantly changing like
no,
like we would when we were a kid. And funnily enough, there's a term in comedy which kind of what you were talking about, your last album and this album is like if they were two comedians, right?
uh-huh.
Last album is you were going to the audience, whereas this album you're going to have the audience come to you.
Exact. Oh, that's ooh, I like that. That's pretty heavy. I can't even imagine what it's like to be a stand-up comedian. That has to be like super hard. Like years ago, I was like, some people tell me, you're funny, whatever, okay. I thought, maybe I could do it, maybe I could do it. And then I would listen to a lot of these comedians, like, whoever, Dave Chappelle or whoever, and I'm like, no, man, this is an art form. These guys know what they're doing. Like just the way, especially Dave Chappelle, the way he takes you on this ride and kind of takes you in these weird depths and like seriousness, and then just punches you in the face. And I'm like, you got to be good at it. You can't, I've seen a couple of you're just like, yeah, these guys are kind of whatever. But when you see these really good guys, and you're just like, wow, like this is a true art form. And I don't think people realize how difficult being a comedian can be.
Well, thank you. But the you know, when you're inside it, it's always a lot more simple than that.
Mm-hmm.
So firstly, Dave Chappelle, when he started out, was fucking shit. And the reason I know that is because every single comedian who ever started doing stand-up was shit to begin with. You know, Bill
Right.
Burr, Bill Hicks, everybody. We're all shit to begin with. Because how you learn is you go
Yeah.
up there and you're shit. And then the next time you're a little bit better than shit. And then yeah,
Next time
and
a little bit, right. And
yeah,
you
yeah,
keep building, you keep growing.
yeah, but everybody's journey is different. Some people never get better than shit and quit. Some people, quite the phrase that I kind of like that. Um, but it's just something you work at. It's just something 10,000 hours, and you're a comic.
Yeah.
I always say the same thing to everybody in the stand-up circuit. The only way that you do not end up being a professional stand-up comedian and earning a living from it is if you quit.
Yeah.
If you don't quit, you will be a professional stand-up comedian and that will be your job.
Right. We
But,
we have this we have
you know,
this uh here in the States, in Indiana, there's a club we play called Black Circle, play it all the time. And I don't know how this came about, but they started doing like matinee shows. And I was like, what? I was like, we're gonna go on at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and play. But what they would do is they'd have 2 or 3 bands play, and then after the bands, they would have comedians come in. And it was like the coolest. Like we always like bring us back on a Sunday again, bring us back again. Because
Yeah.
they always comedians, they're just starting out or whatever, trying to make a name. And
Yeah.
there's just some really funny people. And we were like, this is awesome. So you get your death metal out of the way, and then you got the comedians. It was like the funnest thing I think we've ever done, because it's like, okay, now we can sit back, drink a couple of pints, and listen to these guys laugh a little bit, eat some food, have some fun. So
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of cool that they mixed the comedy with the music.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, it's having been a stand-up for many years and then coming back to being a front man, obviously I've got the skills of all those years of stand-up, which helps. It certainly
Mm-hmm.
helped when we were on the main stage in Bloodstock and one guitar went down, and I had to basically
Ooh,
I had to fill for 5 minutes to a field full of 20,000
right,
people. Um,
right.
but
You're right. You almost right.
yeah,
You gotta channel that stand up at
yeah.
that point.
Well, and you know what? It was no different to emceeing a room full of 200 people, except it was a field with 20,000 people in. You do the same thing, you tell them what the problem is, you get them on your side, you see someone, you take the piss, you have a chat, and you've just got to improv. Is that fixed yet? And
Yeah, like
and
are we
just
ready?
yeah, and just keep. Eventually, our guitarist just turned around and went, "Fucking song." It's like my guitar's dead, just fucking play a song. But it's all learned, it's all learned over the years, it's all experience. And ultimately it's it's so different from music. It is
Oh,
so
I can
different from
imagine.
music, you know because the weird thing is, I help a booker. I always say to him, when dealing with people who book comedy nights, the first thing you've got to explain to them is that um, you need the crowd to be silent. You need the crowd to be quiet, because they always think of comedy nights as these raucous nights, and it's like, look, it will be, but only if you can hear the comedian. Only if
Right.
everybody is focused and listening to the comedian can they then laugh. And that's why
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we've put some tables in the crowd. Yeah, but some of those seats don't face the stage. Oh, but people will turn their seats round. They won't. Tables create a little gang. People won't turn their seats round. They'll listen.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
but that table starts talking to each other because they have broken away from the audience. So the only way to actually explain it to the person running the gig is, have you ever been to the cinema and seen seats that do not face the screen?
No.
Then don't have any at a fucking comedy show.
Right. Right.
You'd think it'd be obvious, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like,
You would
yeah,
think.
yeah.
No, that makes a lot of that makes no, that makes a lot of sense. And when you're playing in a band, you don't want the audience to be quiet. So
Yes, yeah,
I get
absolutely.
it.
And
I
the thing
get
is,
it.
as well, is that you like, with a band, it's kind of like you can just ride roughshod over the audience. They can hate you, but you can
Right.
just blast the tunes out and not give a fuck. But
Right.
but yeah, but in comedy, it's kind of like, no, they're letting you know that they hate you.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh God. I've seen some stand-ups where I'm like, ooh, that's brutal. That
oh, it's painful, isn't it?
who's this new young kid, Matt Rife or whatever his name is. That guy is a real young kid, but man, I've watched a couple of his stand-ups. He is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. He's a US guy, but pretty
Right.
damn good. I was pretty impressed. I was pretty impressed that somebody that young can be that smooth. And because like most of his shows, like he gets interrupted and like somebody will heck him or whatever, and like he just takes over, and I'm like, how
Yeah.
I would have been lost in my tracks, man, and this guy just picked it up and just kept moving with it, and I thought that was pretty impressive.
Well, this is a thing. It's just also more of it's developing more where it's a bit like people coming to the front of a gig and I'm sure you've had this, where you're playing a show and people come to the front of the gig and then they turn their back to you and they take a selfie with you in the background. Do you know? And those people get a
Yeah.
pint of water over their heads, obviously.
Yes.
But
There you go.
yeah. But it's just like, you cunt.
Yeah,
What
right.
the?
What are you doing?
This is my fucking show. Don't fucking turn up and have me in the background like you're in the fucking band. You know what I mean? Like, hey, check me out. They're lucky I turned up. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
what the
right.
fuck's that about? Yeah.
Oh,
And but it's the same thing in comedy, where it's like people are heckle more now. And
yeah.
and the thing is, people always think, oh, but you like it, don't you? It helps. No,
No,
and
it
no.
doesn't.
No,
No.
no, it doesn't. At no point in no point of all those years of writing material have I ever been writing a gag and thought, "Do you know what? I'm going to leave a space in here for some pissed twat to shout out."
Right. Right.
No,
No,
you know.
we went to a comedy show. It was the last year sometime. I can't remember. He was can't remember the guy's name. Nothing like real huge, but you know, somewhat like medium. And yeah, somebody heckled, or no, I'm sorry, it was an opener. This guy was opening for somebody else, and I don't know. He started talking. I think he was a gay comedian or something, and he said something, and somebody heckled him, and like the security came and took the guy right out the door. And I thought, wow, like the guy just said like stuff. I didn't even hear what the guy said, but
Yeah,
I just said one thing and like he's removed from the, you know, I was like, ugh. So yeah, I could see where heckling could get very frustrating.
yeah. It can be. It can be like that to a certain extent. Yes, but the level I operate at, sometimes if you've got a group, if you've got like a stag party or a hen party, and there's like 10, 15 of them, and that's a big enough. I mean, basically, if you've got 150 people in a crowd, well, 15 people is 10%. And that can pollute an entire audience. In a comedy audience. In a music audience, no, not a chance. But in a
No.
comedy audience, that's enough to disrupt a whole fucking night. So
Yeah.
sometimes you will get security will come in and they'll just say, right, any more and you're out.
Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I'm hosting, then the first thing I'll do is find out, right, who's the bride? Okay. Brave, and give her all the attention in the world, and then say, right, that's it now. You shut up, you're silent, and that's your moment. That's it. The
Right.
night is not about you, it's about the comedians. Sit back,
Yep.
enjoy yourselves, and let's all have fun. You've had your moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes it works, but depending on the amount of alcohol they've had, sometimes it doesn't. Look, one thing I was going to ask you actually when we were talking about songwriting earlier, was I'm gonna lay a bet that there are songs that are on your albums, and you are like, do you know what? I should have killed that song. It's like
Yes.
the one where you keep going back and you keep trying to fix it and you keep trying to fix, and you end up with a version that is kind of like, right, okay, let's go with this. And I look back at the songs on our albums. I look back on them and just like, should have killed that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think probably the last two records, especially, oh God. So Wounds Deeper Than Time from 2017. Yeah. There's like at least two songs that I'm like, why did we put this on there? This song sucks. I don't like it. It might have been like, hey, you need someone, you know how it is, you're signed, you need so many songs on your record, this and that. So yeah, on that one and the last two, yeah, there's definitely quite a few songs, but not quite a few, but a couple like, ugh. On this record, I think
yeah.
I don't say that often about every record, but this record I'm really happy with every like I couldn't even pick out one that if you had to tell me you pick out one song off of this record to go, I couldn't pick one. I couldn't pick one. But in the past, oh yeah. Or there's always something like, oh, why did I sing that line? Or why did I do that there? Or oh man, that really sounds stupid now, but like 5 years ago it sounded okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that, but I'm always like there's songs where it's those songs where it's like you've done a version, you've demoed a version, and then you've all decided, right, okay, well, no, let's change that bit, and let's change, and you're constantly trying to repurpose it, And what you really need to do is just go, it's like a car, it's like you keep trying to make this thing run when what
Yeah,
you should do is just strip it for fucking parts and give up on it and
exactly.
distribute the parts elsewhere,
Oh
you know?
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I think sometimes it's, like we said before, you're not serving the song, you're serving yourself.
Yeah.
So, if you're going to get to the point where you're going to get so blind into it that you can't, like you're just frustrated. I've done that before. I've gotten to a certain point where the song, I'm like, I just don't like this. I'm fighting this. Why am I fighting this? This is stupid. Like you said, maybe take some of the riffs and start something else, and then you never know, that other song might become the gem that you were trying to write anyways.
Yeah. 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 And I have to say, on first listen, the song that really jumped out for me was Oblivion.
Wow, you're the second person that said that.
Aha, right, okay. Yeah.
I
Um,
I wonder if that's because it's in a higher register.
yes.
I don't know, man. I was just, this whole record, man. I Like I said, I'd be listening to whatever my favorite band is, whether it's Alice Cooper or I think Creator. I was listening to some Creator, couple, when we were writing and stuff, and I'd be like, I just pick out little nuances, like, wow, that's really cool, the way the drums did this, and he came in with the guitar first with nobody else, and this and that. And then I would just go, well, I'm going to see if I can kind of not write that, but write something similar to that
Yeah.
that kind of pays tribute to that particular song that I was listening to.
I know exactly what you mean. That I know exactly what you mean musically, and I've also translated it into comedy as well. What it's the equivalent of is when I'm listening to a comedian, and you listen and listen to the setup, and I'm like, okay, yeah, and here's the punchline, and they go, did it, and you're like, okay. Or you listen to the setup, and you go, oh, here's the punchline. Oh, they didn't go there. Oh, well, I've got a new gag now. you
Yeah,
know, because it's okay to steal setups. It's not okay to steal punchlines. So that's the big thing in comedy. If somebody's a gag thief, it's always they stole my gag, they stole my punchline. But I'm a big fan of stealing setups and then
yeah,
repurposing it and putting my own punchline on there.
sure.
Because when I heard that gag, I had, I was like, oh right, I think I know where this is going. Oh no, it's not going there. Okay, well that means I can work that, which is kind of what you're saying, like musically, you hear a certain thing and you go, yeah, right. Well, you take the principles of it, not the sounds.
Right, right.
You
Yeah,
know what I
no,
mean?
totally, exactly. Yeah. I mean, just be like anything like, oh, I'm gonna put a little squeal here because you know what? I was listening to this one song last week and I really like the way that guy put that squeal in there, but like
Yeah.
but like you said, you kind of make it your own, because
Yes.
I know there's that. I don't know if you guys have it over by you in the UK, but like a Dark Side of Comedy series,
Oh,
and we
I'm
were
not aware of
watching
it.
a, huh?
I'm not
No?
aware of it. Oh
Yeah,
no! Yes, 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 yeah.
yes.
Oh,
And that was that big
the age
segment.
old tears of a clown. Comedians commit suicide. Yada yada
Yeah,
yada.
but there was that one
Stuff.
segment where I was Carlos Mencina or something that was like accused of like stealing uh other jokes from other
Yeah,
comedians, making it his own. And it's kind of like, I think if you line up 10 comedians, you might hear a lot of similarities, but they're all going to put their own spin on it. And I
yeah,
think that's not only with comedians, but with musicians, you got to put your own spin on it because, you don't want to steal something outright, but yet at the same point, we're all influenced by stuff. Like you said, you might see somebody with a gag and go like, hey, I think I can make that work for me.
yeah. And I believe it was the philosopher Mr. Dimebag Darrell who said we're all just borrowing riffs. You know,
Yeah. Wow.
and it's very true. It really is. But it's like, just because you've put a pinch harmonic in a riff doesn't mean you've ripped off Machine Head.
Yeah.
It's
Or
it,
Zach Wild.
well, I don't think he plays anything other than pinch harmonics, but
Right. Right.
but you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
nobody owns anything. You know,
No.
it's
No. And I think a lot of people get a little too carried away with it too. Like, oh man, that sounds like this or that sounds like that, or he stole this, he stole that. And it's kind of like, how do you steal? My thing is, no matter what any of us write, it all is it all comes from somewhere else.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like nothing is truly really original anymore. some guy back in the 30s might have been playing that same line, but in a different way or a different version. And it, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, like you said, Dimebag said, we're all borrowing riffs.
Yeah, look, I came up with a song title which I really liked as an album title, and I was like, oh, I'm really pleased with this. Nice bit of wordplay, and that's great. Did a Google search, yeah, Groundhogs, 1969. Fuck.
I know, hey, I know,
Yeah,
isn't it, dude? And I do the same thing. I come up with a title. I'm like, I better Google this and make sure this isn't like 10 other bands got the same title or the same premise.
yeah, yeah. Well, everyone's fucked when it comes to Moshkinstein because that's like that was the first word I made up, and it still sticks to this day. And you know what? I'm glad I mentioned that because it's the principle of exactly what we were talking about. Where did Moshkinstein come from? Frankenchrist.
Right?
Well, that's like, yeah. So Frankenstein, well, they've taken Franken, I'll take the Stein,
Yeah.
and just switch it. Put a word on the
Right?
front of Stein. Oh, Moshkinstein, great. So yeah, total Dead Kennedy's inspiration.
Oh God, yeah.
But
God, I
no one,
remember.
but no
Oh
one,
man,
yeah,
great
but no one's
band.
going to connect the dots between
Right.
Frankenchrist, and Moshkinstein. But
Yeah.
that's exactly how I got there.
That's very creative, man.
Well, no, it's borrowing riffs, is what it is. It's just repurposing somebody else's idea.
There you go.
You
Yeah,
know,
I kind of feel like that too, especially writing lyrics sometimes too. I feel like I'm just, not all the time, but sometimes like you said, you're just repurposing something.
yeah,
But then you put your own spin on it. Put your own spin on it, you make it yours.
yeah, yeah. And lyrically, um, with this album, was there a different approach? Again, was it more that approach of, like, right, I'm not writing lyrics to please people, and I'm not writing lyrics to something that is to an album that is just 100% trad death metal,
Right.
so did that kind of, did you approach the lyric writing the same way you did the music writing, with which I'm just going to do what I want?
Yeah, well, the lyric process is always kind of I don't know how you feel about it. I always feel it's a tedious process. Um Sometimes it can be just like, I don't want to do this. Like even Max Cavalera, they asked him, I know in an interview about writing lyrics, he said, I freaking hate it. And I said, yeah, it can be kind of a chore, but I use it more as a therapy. And for me, I
Yeah,
write when I write
yeah,
lyrics, I write about what I know and what I feel.
yeah,
And the last 3 years of, the whole COVID thing and just all this stuff going on, I had just all these different mixed emotions going on, like everybody, like all of us did. And that's the
yeah,
weird thing, is we're all in it together as human beings. We're all in this world together, whether we think so or not. And I just wanted to write about what I was feeling. There was some anger, there was some depression, some sadness. We even had you know, Eric's grandpa developed dementia and eventually passed away. And that kind of hit me a little hard because, I just see so many of these, older people getting dementia, and it scares the crap out of me. And I'm like, I don't get it. And
yeah,
so I turned those emotions and how I felt about it into the lyrics and into the songs. So I never write about anything I don't know about. I never write about anything that I haven't experienced or actually felt for myself. So
yeah,
they're just kind of really just down to earth lyrics about how I feel. And the thing I like about my lyrics is I have people, oh, well, this is what I got. So I'm
yeah.
like, well,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
cool because you got something completely different than what it's written about. But that's to me what it about when it's all said and done, in the end, grand scheme of things, it's all about the listener and how they and what they're interpreting the lyrics as for them.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, you can write something that is absolutely specific, like a specific
Right.
situation, a specific, and people like we apply their lives to it and how it works for them and what it's about for them. And funnily enough, I was looking back at lyrics that I wrote on our last album, and I actually had the same experience with my own lyrics. And it's like, I read that there's a song called My Piece of Hell, but peace is spelled Peace. And I look back at it now, And I'm like, wow, I think this song is about, I didn't know that I had ADHD at the time. And I think it was about me self-medicating with weed because of my ADHD. And I look back
Wow.
on those lyrics now and go, right, okay. So I'm now doing a listener thing. I'm I'm interpreting my own lyrics, which is a weird experience. But funnily enough, I'm exactly 100% the other way with you, man. I'm a writer who can sing. I'm not a singer who can write. So lyrics
Fair enough.
first, and all my life. Hey, have you got a melody in line for those? Have you got a rhythm in mind for those? Fuck off. I just I wrote, like, I wasn't even thinking about music. These are fucking words. The message is what's important. The words are what's important.
Right.
When I'm writing lyrics, I'm really writing poetry. I'm not thinking there's too many words in that sentence. I'll have to drop some of those. That will never balls to that.
Right.
Just it's got to come out. It's got to come
Yeah,
out,
I think
and
it's
it's
got to
got to
be. I
be.
think it's got to be natural. It's got to be a natural feel, and it's got to be something that you're passionate about. Because you know, I can't write about stuff I don't know about or stuff that I'm not interested in. You know,
Well, you know what they say when it comes to writing, whether it's comedy, whether it's movies, whatever it is, you write what you know. That's it.
exactly.
Write what you know.
That's 100%, hundred
And
percent.
the best comedians are the people who are saying things to a room full of strangers that their family don't know and their best friends don't know. They are exposing the deepest corners of themselves and what they think.
Vulnerability.
Because as a comedian, over the years, what you learn is, do you know what? I'm going to say this, and I think people who think the same way as me are going to laugh. They're going to go, "That's me," and people who aren't like me are gonna laugh and go, "That's fucking insane," and then there'll be some people who don't laugh, but that's fine. There's always people who don't laugh, but you've got both bases covered, you know.
Right.
So ultimately, the deeper you go, whether it's lyric writing, comedy, whatever it is, the the deeper you go, the more you reveal of yourself. I think the more engaging it is to people, and the more they apply their own meanings to things because your words mean something to them.
Sure. Yeah, I think being vulnerable too. That's pretty huge, man. That's
Yeah,
yeah, you're putting yourself out there, and I think you doing it with your comedy and even with the band. Same thing with me. You're putting yourself out there.
yeah,
You're saying this is it. This is my experience. I'm sharing it with you guys, and you take it for what it's worth.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we kind of live in an environment now, especially in the metal scene, where I think like all bets are off. There are no taboo subjects. There's nothing that you can't express through music.
Right.
um and and especially with mental health struggles and things like that. I think more than ever, people, and let's be honest, okay, there's a there's a real, still a very macho element to metal, thrash, death metal, all of that. And we are of a generation where it's like, fucking buckle up, fight through, get on with it, do what you got to do. Life's life, life's tough, get a fucking helmet. That's basically it. Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
And it's easy to look at generations coming through and going, like, oh Christ, what a fucking bunch of moaning cunts. They can't do anything for themselves. They've got no balls. How are they ever going to survive? And you know what? Well, you can say that, but our generation, men, we're busy fucking killing ourselves.
Yeah.
We've got a huge problem with suicide. It's the biggest killer of men over 40s is
Oh, oh yeah.
themselves. And that's
Oh yeah.
because, that's because we didn't do what these kids who are coming through now are, which is talk about our feelings, which is
Right.
actually figure shit out
Right.
instead of just burying it and have it come bite you in the ass in your 40s. And you either buy a sports car or hang yourself from a fucking tree, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I even think the generation even before us, like my grandparents, they didn't. I can tell like with like people of our generation now, like even you got kids, the dads are taking more of an interest. as where before it was like dads were hands off. That
Yeah.
was for the mom, you know, and it definitely has changed. And it's just weird sometimes now that you just like you said, just the generational shift as far as how that works now. It's just sometimes it's like, oh, okay, you know,
Yeah.
like you said, like 20 years ago, it might not have been acceptable to share your feelings at this point, but now it is, you
Yeah.
know, and it sucks too. We just had a one of my buddies was just telling me, he goes, oh yeah, this bar next to me, this guy came in, bartender who's having a hard time, whatever, came into his shift and had a backpack and went into the bathroom and blew his brains out in the bathroom. They're like, wow, like you're serious? And he's like, yeah. And you're just like, so yeah, you just don't know what's going through anybody's minds these days. And
Yeah.
I think that with the current climate we're in right now, I think we pay more attention to that a little bit. But there's still people that don't talk about it or don't get the help. And then, like you
Yeah.
said, you hear about it, and you're like, holy crap! Like it blows me away because I mean I've been, you know, I've dealt with depression the last couple of years and all that, but never to the point where I wanted to like take myself out. So I feel bad for when that happens and when I see stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, I have my fair share of mental health struggles as well, and yeah, I think we all have.
Oh
Whether
yeah,
you know, I think everybody has. There's just those who admit it and those who don't. Um, and ultimately, yeah, I mean, I always I have this thing where everyone's saying like, oh, talk to somebody, talk to a friend, and like, no, 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 the whole talking thing, yeah, that's a great message, but you know what? Talk to a fucking professional.
absolutely,
You know, don't
absolutely.
just don't pour all don't pour all that weight on your friends, but, who aren't equipped to handle it or help, because all we do as friends is empathize,
True,
you know, and it's like,
true.
well, that's you need to be able to talk it out. And I don't think there's anything better than being able to sit down in a room with a complete fucking stranger who doesn't know anything about you, your life, your history,
Right.
what you did at school, who you fucked, who you fought, whatever. Just you know, talk to me. Cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the process too is being open with that person and being honest with that person, you know, because you can go in there and you can lie your ass off and that other person isn't going to be able to help you.
Yeah.
But if you're honest with that person I've talked to some professionals the past couple of years and very grateful that those people have that outside opinion instead of like you said maybe say, oh, I'm sorry, or somebody coddling me or whatever.
Yeah.
These people are giving you their personal or they're professionals and that's what they're
Yeah.
there for. And I wish more people reached out to get help because there's no shaming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is as well is that, it's kind of like the first thing I learned was when you're in there and you talk to a professional. What your friends will do is you talk to them, and then they talk back to you. Whereas when you're in there with a counselor, you talk to them and they say nothing. So you carry on talking and they say
Yeah.
nothing. So you carry on, and now you've got to a realm of conversation that you've never had. You're now saying things
Right.
out loud that you've never said before, because there isn't that other person feeling the need to knock the ball back across the fucking net.
Right. It's in your court now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But Jesus, I didn't expect to end up here, dude.
Hey, it's all good, man.
So look, any plans? Standard question now. Let's make out like this is just a normal boring podcast interview. So what are your touring plans?
Well, we've got what is it? Beginning of March, we're going to do a couple of West Coast runs, California and Vegas with Skeletal Remains.
Cool.
They're a very they're an awesome bunch of guys. They've been around about I think 10, 12 years right now, and they got a new album coming out. So and with our album coming out, we thought let's team up for a couple of days. So we're going to do that, and then a couple of weeks after that, we're coming back. And then we're going to South America for, I think it's 8 dates with a band called Malevolent Creation out of Florida. So
No,
and
well,
then hopefully going to Mexico for a couple of dates after.
that's awesome. Guess where Kyle from Exorder just got back from?
South America.
South America, yeah.
You see, and it's weird because the last podcast I was in, they're like, he's our next guest. So he must be like following me, or I might be following him or something. So it's kind of ironic.
Oh, brilliant. So have you ever well, have you ever, I'm sure you have over the years, but I don't know. Let's ask. Have you ever managed to make it over to Europe and the UK?
Yes. We were in the UK last year for the UK Death Fest.
Ah,
And then
right.
yeah, and then we were in Denmark for the Killtown Death Fest. And then so that was the first time we were in the UK. And then a couple years before that, we were in Netherlands for the Netherlands Death Fest.
Yeah.
And then we were in Czech Republic for the Symbolic Open Air Fest. So
So where was the Death Fest in the
which
UK?
it was in oh man it's on the tip of my tongue. London, I think.
Yeah.
I thought it was in London.
Was it the
Place
Underworld?
was what?
Was it the Underworld?
Yes, yes, that was one of the venues. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. And I'm because I'm thinking yeah, a mate of mine, Dave Ingram's band was playing. I can't remember
yes,
what's their
yes.
fucking band called? I can't remember.
Benediction? You mean
Yeah,
Benediction?
Benediction.
Yeah. No, I ran into him. They played the Czech Republic Fest with us, and then yeah, I ran into him on that run too. So it was really cool. Yeah, no, there was a lot of really cool bands. Carl from Memoriam, Bolt Thrower, got to hook up with him again, and just huge fan of his. But we've been buddies for years. So no, the UK was just amazing. We were trying to get back there this year, but ran into some problems with budgets and
Yeah,
everything's just so expensive right now. Just not a lot
yeah,
to go around, but we
yeah,
really wanted to try to come back over to the UK for like 5 or 6 dates. So I'm hoping that happens maybe later in the year or maybe even next year. Maybe once the record comes out, maybe somebody will just be like, we got to bring these guys over because yeah, we had a blast, and I love the European fans, UK fans, and they're just amazing. They just love music so much, and it's just an honor and pleasure for us to come over and play for those bands.
well, it's funny because you mentioned a few festivals there, and why do you think it is that festivals just don't seem to work in the States? There's this huge festival circuit that everyone plays in Europe and the UK throughout the summer, and why Metallica have tried to make a festival work, couldn't. Slipknot have tried to make a festival work, couldn't. What
I
is
think
it a
as I just
cultural thing?
no, I think it's just because it's just oversaturated. It's just
Right.
oversaturated. And I think that it's like once you have, well, same thing here in the U.S. It's like you have your annual festivals that happen every year, and sometimes they turn out real good, sometimes they don't. I just think it's just because it's oversaturated, and I think that the mentality is more is better. And I think sometimes when you have, it's kind of like you go to your favorite restaurant, or you just go to a restaurant in general, and you see the menu, and the menu's so vast, you can't make up your mind.
Yeah.
And then you go to a restaurant that has like good, better, best. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I know what I want. So I think a lot of times it's like that whole phrase, more isn't always better, less is more.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe if some of the festivals scaled back and maybe just had like a good, better, best instead of having 90 bands, why don't you just have like 15?
Well,
And I think maybe
yeah.
that could be the case.
Look, for me, Bloodstock is the perfect example. You've got a main stage, and then you can walk for 5 minutes, and you're at the second stage, and that's pretty much it. You've got some
Yeah.
other little stages dotted about, but they're kind of like unsigned bands and local bands, and you can pop in and it's cool. There's a bar there, there's music playing, it's live. But there's two main stages. There's a main stage, and then there's a kind of a big stage in a tent. And it's a 5 minute walk between the two.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That was one thing I liked about the UK Death Fest is they just had two venues. I still can't remember I don't know if we were at the Underworld or I can't remember. I can't remember right now, but so there were just
The Black was it? Would
two.
have been the Black Heart?
No, I'm gonna have to look this up now. Now I'm
Was it
frustrated.
in? Yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
It was literally down the block. Like there was like they were just a block apart, and it was just awesome that I'd be seeing my favorite band over here, and then I'd run down the block and go in and see the other band, and I just thought they did a really good job of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I know the one you mean. Yeah. And I wasn't around because I wanted to pop in and say hello to Dave, but I was either away doing comedy or with the band or something. So yeah, we ships in the night. We nearly met back then.
Right.
But well, look, it'd be great to get you guys back over here.
Yeah, I would love it. We're open to anything and anybody that wants to bring us back. I would love it. It's we spent when our first record came out 32 years ago, it was like we were a European. That's where our fan base was. Our label is in the UK,
Eh,
so I mean, we have a
your
lot of
label,
ties. Huh?
your label was started by a mate of mine, Hammy.
Oh, you hammy. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I used to talk to that guy all the time back in the day. What a
Yeah,
wonderful guy. He signed us to Peaceville, right? We were on Def Records and then he signed us to Peaceville. So I mean,
yeah.
man, I have not talked to him in many, many moons, but very
No,
nice guy.
do you know what? Me neither. I don't know if he's still in the industry, if he's still involved with Peaceville at all. I don't think he is.
I
I
know
think
he's not involved with Peaceville because
right,
Paul Groundwell, he's the guy there now.
right. I mean, I have. So Hammy, if you're out there, if you're listening,
Yes. Drop
love to
us a
have you on the
line.
show.
Drop us a line.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now there's a name from back in the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you were saying that our first album came out 32 years ago, I was like, Jesus, yeah. I mean, it's
I
like
know, hey.
it's well, The Fear is that album turns 35 on Tuesday. So that's
Wow.
gonna be yeah, that's like fucking old.
Oh, that's awesome though,
um
man. That's awesome.
but yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it, that you signed to to a UK label all those years ago. It's kind of,
Well,
and you're
it just
still
started
with them.
it started the tape trading. We started doing the tape trading thing.
Yeah,
And when it was just starting out, and I don't know, our tape got redubbed and recirculated and traded so many times. And we'd get the fan magazines from all over Europe, and
yeah,
the white with the like you go to the copy shop and put it together in your bedroom, and you
yeah,
mail it off, and we get all these things, and we'd see our tape in like all these different magazines. And one it was like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and phone rings, and it was Johnny from Def Records, and Johnny's like, "Hey man, your demo's on. It's really, it's all over Europe. We would like to sign you." And I was like, that would be awesome. And he signed us for the Dying Remains. And then once Def Records, I don't know if they went out of business, whatever happened. And then Peaceville literally only took two bands from Def Records over to the main label, and we were one of them. So very fortunate to do that. And yeah, I've been with them for a long time. Even when our contract expired off the third record, I still kept in touch with Paul and Hammy and all those guys. And I always liked the label. I just thought it was a really awesome label. A lot of my favorite bands were on the label. And yeah, and then just the fact that it was in the UK, I was like, this is awesome. And for I think the first couple years of our career, people didn't even know we were a US band. They thought we were a UK based band just because of
yeah,
the fans.
yeah. Well, just if you were on Peaceville, it would have been assumed that you were a UK band.
Yeah.
You know, um, well, back in the day, we were playing in Bradford, and we were supported by a band called Reanimator, who
Oh, I've heard. I remember them.
yeah, yeah. Well, we got their demo tape off them because we thought they were great, and we got their demo tape off them. We gave it to Music for Nations, and they ended up signing them. But the band who opened who played for 20 minutes and were fucking terrible and played one song twice was a band called Paradise Lost.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, I know. I know. Um, and
Because Peaceville had distribution through Music for Nations for quite a
yeah,
while. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
and that's so funny because that was the first band that we loved off of the label was Paradise Lost. The
Yeah.
first record was like, oh my God, this is great. And then their second record was even better. And then we're like, wow, like this band just constantly evolves with every record. It was like insane. Yeah, they're one of my top favorite bands for probably like 15 years.
Well, they certainly evolved from when they played with us. The irony being that you know, we Reanimate were on the bill as well. We got Reanimator signed, and between ourselves and Reanimator, we probably never sold even a tenth of what Paradise Lost ended up selling around the world.
Crazy.
But it just goes to show, you know, well, they were awful. You know, they really were. But I think it was like their first or second gig or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, oh, man, it was just, yeah, it was insane. No, it's just, it's great. It's great to talk to somebody from who's been around so long. You know, who
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
man, those tape trading days were insane. Did you
Oh,
ever, do you remember Morbid Mag out of Norway?
no, I don't.
Right. Okay. Because Ronnie from Morbid Mag in Norway, um, like everything else in Norway, stamps are really expensive. So he used to send tapes and he used to send me copies of the magazine. But what you had to do was he'd covered the stamps with water soluble glue. So
Oh, so you
when
could reuse them.
so when you got the package, you had to cut the stamps out and you know, post back. You'd reply saying thanks for all that stuff and everything, and here are your stamps. And he would take them into the bathroom, wash them, you know, wash the glue off,
So
wash the
that's so
postmark
strange
off.
you say that because I remember somebody asking me to do that back in the day, and I thought this is really odd. Like, why are they asking me to send their stamps back? Wow.
Maybe it was
I don't know
Ronnie.
why.
Maybe it was Ronnie.
It might have been because I'm like, this is odd. He wants me to cut the stamps off and send them back. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. We were recycling before we even knew it was a thing. You know?
Repurposing.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, recycling, or as we used to call it, saving money. You know, that,
Yeah, right.
that's what it was all about. That's what it was all about. But yeah, I loved that tape trading scene. I remember getting Jeff Waters.
Annihilator.
I got Alice in Hell, the original Alice in Hell demo
Oh,
that he recorded in his bedroom in his closet. He did the vocals in the closet, and it was all him. And
wow.
I sent him our Moshkinstein demo. We traded that, and then one day, check this out, right? There's a knock at my parents' door, like, you know, the front door, living with my parents. So I go and I open the door, and there's a package I've got to sign for, and it's like it's LP shaped, and I'm like, okay, and I look at it, and there's a stamp on it that says Megaforce Records, and I'm
Ooh,
like, what the fuck is this? So I open it up and I take out, bearing in mind, you know, pre-internet. So
sure.
I take out something I didn't even know was being made, and it's the first MOD album,
Oh,
USA for MOD, right? So I take that out, and I'm
oh,
like, what the fuck is this? So I'm looking at it, I'm like, right, okay, so this is the next thing after SOD, right? Okay, cool, cool. And there's a letter in there, and it's from Metal Maria Ferrero, who I'm friends with on Facebook, and there's a letter in there, and it just said, "Hi, Scott from Anthrax has asked me to send you this, in exchange for a copy of your Moshkinstein demo, if that would be okay." And I'm like,
wow.
yep, okay.
Love that's so funny because I love say going back to pre Morta Skuld days. We like I said, Acid Rain, MOD, SOD, DRI, all huge classics. I still listen to all those bands. I
Oh,
just
mate,
it's a
I
part of me that'll never I don't know what it just I don't know, just something about the music and just that time period that
Yeah.
just I don't know. It was like magic in the air. I don't know how to describe it, but those records are so awesome. Till this day, they still all stand the test of time.
I'm DRI dealing with it jumps out straight away
Yep.
as like that's a game changer for me. Apparently, that is the that is the one hardcore record that Kerry King went, okay, so hardcore's not shit then. Yeah,
Wow.
that was the album that turned him.
It's a great record, man. I personally feel like it's got a lot. It's heavy. There's a lot of heavy riffs on that record.
There is. It's the production that I kind of feel like people sort of they kind of missed it because because the production is more punky. So the guitar has less weight to it.
Yeah,
Or the guitar sound has less weight to it. But there's just some awesome shit going on there.
right. Well, I mean, if you even listen like to like back in the day, I was a huge Sex Pistols fan, and I was watching. There was like a documentary or something, and they had Steve Jones in there, and he's going to, and I was like, wow, like if you really listen to a lot of the guitar parts and the overdubs he was doing, it's kind of very metal. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is, and just his playing, even though he wasn't a big solo guy, it just a really underrated guitar player, man. Just some real underrated stuff going on those records.
Yeah, and do you know what? Here's a really underrated record for you because I think it got a little bit slated at the time. Um, Bedtime for Democracy by the Dead Kennedys.
Oh,
Oh, what an album! I was listening to it the other day, like a remastered version. Not that it makes any difference. Um, and oh man, it's just fucking amazing. It
yeah,
really is.
I remember getting into that phase when I was like punk was becoming really popular, or it just was starting to come out. I don't know. I was still in high school, but I remember the Dead Kennedys a lot. They were them and the Pistols. I mean, just all that. Just what a great time.
Yeah,
And that's the one thing I like about my age is that I got the best of all. I mean, I get the best of the rock music and the punk music and the metal music and the thrash music, and you see
yeah.
it all kind of come and go. But yeah, those records they're timeless. You're never gonna be able to recreate that.
I totally agree with you from a musical standpoint, but also let's go one stage further. And then we were also old enough to be able to appreciate the internet when it arrived and social media
Yep.
and not have it fuck with our childhood in any way.
Right.
So it's like we like literally like, the internet arrived in my life in probably about age 28.
Okay.
And when I adopted to it, other friends
Right.
had previously, and I'd heard people talk about it and stuff like that. But by about 28, I was like, I gotta buy a computer. And like I know nothing about computers, but I'll buy one and
Right.
take it from there, you know? And
Well, you
and
kind of had to though, because people started going to online ordering, or you know what I mean. The way we lived or the way we knew it changed to the point where it was like this is a necessity.
yeah,
Like you could probably go into any house right now, and everybody owns at least one laptop. You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, it was getting an email address. I played Sunday football, and the manager was just like, look, it's a lot easier to
Yeah.
communicate with you if you've got an
Yeah.
email address, and if you
Yep.
haven't got one, fucking get one.
Get one.
You
Yep.
know,
Absolutely.
yeah. And it was kind of like that necessity that I was like, okay, right, yeah, I'll do that then. Um, and then it was just kind of like, yeah. So yeah, we've been very lucky. I think, we really have been. It's been our generation has really had that. We had the last of the great rock bands, if you
Abs.
like.
Yeah. No, I agree with
Um,
you 100%.
and now let me ask you one question, okay? And I think I might even know the answer to this, right? No, I don't. Let me ask you one question. Do you like Kiss?
Man, no, not really.
Yeah! Excellent. Excellent.
I think I liked one record. I think Creatures
No,
of the
dude, it's
Night.
okay. No, it's all right.
But
You
yeah,
don't have
I
to like any of them. You don't have to like
no.
any of them.
I don't know. I just never gravitated towards them.
Oh,
I was more of an Alice Cooper guy.
I'm just, it's like, you just can't get away from an American metal artist saying somewhere every 5 minutes what an influence Kiss were. And I'm just like, it's just piss weak radio rock, always has been, always
Yeah,
will be.
yeah.
Did a fucking disco album, so their career should be dead. Yeah. I just
And they're all
fucking
over, and they're all over Sirius Radio. All the like, I can't. If they play Deuce one more time, I think I'm gonna shoot. I'm just like, oh, stop. It's like the song's awful to begin with, and I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know how they got that big, to be honest with you. Because yeah, I'm just not never was a big
absolutely don't get. It's but it's the ghost thing all over again. It's like,
fan. Yeah.
looks like a horror film,
Yes.
sounds like Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, yeah, it's
I,
insane.
I'm not a big fan of that band either. My one of my
Yeah.
friends, oh, you gotta listen, you gotta check it out, you gotta listen. And then like I was driving my car, and one song came on the radio, and I was like, wow, this is kind of really bubblegummy and poppy. I'm like, what? Like, really, dude? Like, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. I'm not a fan either. Not a fan either. But hey, what the hell? Have you heard here's a tangent. Have you heard the As in Hell album yet?
I don't think so.
No? Because
No.
that I can solidly recommend. If you're a fan of kind of spiritual healing era death,
Yes. Yes.
As in Hell is the album that has been put together by your main man from Volbeat.
Re-
Yeah.
Why? This sounds familiar.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's he put a project together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I haven't heard them, but I'm looking them up now. I do remember. Yes. I do remember reading something about this.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. You recommend it, eh? All right.
Yeah, that was in my top 10 of last year.
Okay. I
Um
will definitely check that out.
yeah, that is.
I'm not a big Volbeat fan. I
No,
just
funnily enough, I am, but
are you?
the he's always said, basically, even in interviews, like, big Volbeat guy, and he's like who's your like, your favorite guitarist, your inspiration, and it's like Chuck Schuldiner. All
Yeah. I remember
always,
reading that.
always, yeah, and I mean, Chuck's fucking fingerprints are all over that As in Hell album.
Okay.
Um,
Now I have to go check it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It just brought a smile to my face, to be honest, because
Okay.
I was sat there listening to it, and I was smiling because I was happy for for a fellow musician, because I was sat there smiling, thinking, dude, you did it.
You
You
did a
did it.
good job.
You created a brand new genre of which there is still only one band, and that is rockabilly metal, and that's Volbeat. And you've taken that to stadiums, arenas, and now
Right.
you've gone, okay, I'm just going to do a pause and do that fucking death metal album I've always wanted to do, and you've smashed it out the park as well.
Well,
You know,
now I'm definitely going to listen to that tonight.
cool, cool. Well, look, dude, this has been an absolute blast. It really has. I'm so glad I stayed in for you. I feel like I've had a Saturday night out.
Awesome. I'm glad I could give you that feeling, and I thank you so much for doing this. And
Oh, no
love
worries,
the
man.
band. I love the band, and I look forward to your new stuff.
Oh, dude. Well, the album that you probably didn't know came out in 2019, called The Age of Entitlement. So, yeah, check that out, from
I'll definitely
2019.
look that up. I really
Um,
appreciate that.
I have just followed. I just before the interview, I followed you on Instagram. Acid Rain and Talking Bollocks both
Okay.
followed you. I have them in both accounts, so let's stay in touch. And
Absolutely.
this has been a blast. Absolutely love the album, mate. Honestly,
Awesome.
properly turned my head. Really,
Well,
really,
I
really good
thank
stuff.
you so much, Howard.
No, thank you. Yeah, it brightened my day, and continues every time I put it on.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, mate. It's been a
All right.
pleasure. Thank you
Cheers.
very much.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye bye.
You too.